Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Same Girl or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by Killingsaray, and you can find the link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by me, Britt. Same Girl. Toscano Bar is a quaint little hideout tucked in Salem that boasts a modern take on classic Italian dishes, an extensive wine menu, and specialty cocktails in an intimate space. This is where Sarah brings Tally on a random Tuesday night. They've been dating for a few months now, quietly, of course. Only a select few of their inner circle were aware of it. Mostly, it's Tally's fears of being accused of sleeping her way to her most recent promotion that keeps them under the radar of the rest of the personnel on base. There's also Sarah. She doesn't want their enemies to use Tally as a way to get to Sarah, because like it or not, Tally is Sarah's number one weakness these days. But Sarah isn't thinking about everything that's happening on the base now. She isn't considering the fact that she's left a mountain of paperwork and some very confused biddies sitting in her office as she swept Tally off of the base for a proper romantic dinner tonight. The only thing that she's focused on right now is the contrast of the red roses in the center of the table against Tally's porcelain skin, and the way the chandeliers and candlelight only seem to enhance the twinkle in her brown eyes. So what's the occasion? Tally wonders, though she has some ideas. There's still a lingering effect of the bond they've shared since Tally has been unbiddied. She can feel the strong emotions that Sarah feels. Fury, joy, and lately, there's another feeling. Something Tally has never felt through their bond before. Well, that's not exactly true. It feels like something she's sensed before, except on a greater level, as if Sarah's adoration has become a whole new entity entirely. Well, there is something I'd like to express to you, if I may, Sarah replies. Her spine is wrought straight, and she's trying hard not to fiddle with her cloth napkin. Tally nods, trying not to appear too eager, but it's to no avail. Sarah can tell by the big doe eyes and deepening of Tally's dimples that she's excited for what's to come, possibly even aware of what Sarah will say. I know our situation is orthodox, by any means. However, She's interrupted by another figure sliding up a chair and plopping down into it in one fluid motion. Finally! I've been looking all over town for you two. Nicta? Tally cannot stop the surprise, nor the disappointment that flashes across her face. What's wrong, Red? Not happy to see me? No, the redhead realizes her mistake when Nicta's brow raises. No, I'm not happy to see you. It's just that... She trails off and looks at Sarah, gesturing both pointer fingers between them. Oh, is this a date? Nicta asks. She knows good and goddess damned well that it's a date. Knew it the moment she snuck a peek inside of Tally's pretty little head and felt her heart beating a mile a minute. An hour ago. Yes, and I was just about to tell Tally something of importance. Sorry, I'll wait then, Nicta says, reaching over and plucking a stack of asparagus from Sarah's plate and munching cheekily. What are you even doing here? Sarah asks. Tally can feel an immense dislike running through their link. I drew the short straw, she immediately points to Sarah. Any short jokes from you, and I will tell your girlfriend about the kayak story. You wouldn't dare, Sarah challenges. But there's no venom in her tone, no fire in her eyes, and it's clear to Tally that it's an embarrassing story, yet fond when the pair look back on it. Something they can laugh about together. Now here's a thought. Look, there's been an attack, Nicta continues. Petra's handling it, but we could use all of the witch power at our disposal. Why didn't you just lead with that? Sarah asks, signaling for the waitress. She's already pulling her money clip from the breast pocket of her dinner jacket. Tally, who has been fairly quiet up until this point, finally speaks. Ray and Abigail? They're fine, but they'll be deployed shortly. I figured you'd want to go with them. Of course Tally does. Within 5 minutes, their tab is paid, and dinner is left to congeal as the threesome leaves the restaurant quickly. Sarah finds the valet, promising to tip him generously if he can hurry, and it gives Tally a moment alone with Nicta. Admit it, you were a bit jealous, Tally says, dimples appearing. Nicta refrains from scoffing, but it's evident in her tone. Of Sarah Alder? Hardly. Of me with Sarah Alder. Nicta takes a furtive glance on either side of her, before taking 2 steps forward until she's properly invaded Tally's personal bubble. The redhead's breath hitches audibly, and Nicta clocks it. The brunette leans in, cheek grazing against Tally's. Her hand presses against Tally's abdomen, and she feels the muscles contract. Lips brush against the younger woman's ear, and then she mutters, Don't flatter yourself, Red. She grins when she feels Tally's shuddering breath against the side of her face, pulling back to look into Tally's eyes. Nicta knows that if she stares into them for much longer, Tally will know. She'll see the person behind the mask, which honestly makes this even more terrifying. The fact that without using the face of another, Tally still doesn't know who Nicta truly is. Doesn't know that she's capable of more than just death and destruction. Stop that, Tally softly commands. Stop what? Thinking you don't deserve anything good in the present because of what you've done in your past. A knot forms in Nicta's throat. Tally lifts a hand with the general idea of comforting Nicta, but the older woman takes a step back, removes her own hand from Tally's stomach and clears her throat. We'd better get back to base to help with the mission. And with that, the moment is gone. The tension in Tally's chest, that in her bones straight through to her muscle sensation of being pulled so taut between her love for Sarah and her adoration for Nicta, literally snaps, and she feels it physically. Her heart breaks for Nicta, and for herself, and for Sarah. Will it always be this way? Is she forever going to be the rope in their year-long game of tug-of-war? Not if she has anything to do with it. She likes them, no. Loves them, both. No, Tally negates. We're not done here. The valet turns around a corner with Sarah's car. The tall brunette is ready to end this night, but they are about to go into a potentially life-threatening situation, and it would be better if they could go into it with a clear mind. Tally grips the lapel of Nicta's bomber jack. Her fashion has been more modern recently, and Tally has a sneaking suspicion it has something to do with her, and tucks her forward like a puppy on a leash. Get in the car. Absolutely not. Sarah watches as Tally pulls her closer and closer, wondering what the hell is happening. Nicta is riding with us back to base. Absolutely not, Sarah says. That's what I said, Nicta gestures behind her, as if Sarah can see the remnants of her and Tally's past communication glowing like a seed sound. Look, you two already have something in common, quips Tally. Get in the car. Begrudgingly, Nicta opens the rear door and folds her body to get inside, slamming it as she gets situated and then pouts like a scolded child. Sarah opens Tally's door for her and shuts it once she's inside, before tipping the valet and looping around the front and getting in the driver's seat. Without a word, she peels off towards Fort Salem. They're about 5 minutes from base when Tally finally decides to entertain her captive audience. I like you both, she blurts out. A lot. Probably more than a healthy amount, and I know that's insane, but... Her voice trails off when the tension in the car grows from palpable to tangible. Tally can literally see the colorful cords of their connection above their heads, each reaching out for one another but falling just short of colliding. So, Sarah replies, who will you choose? Nick just scoffs in the back seat. The only person bold enough to ask that question is the person that assumes they are the only choice. I didn't say that. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything except throw around the Alder name and presume to be forgiven for your downfalls and shortcomings without so much as an apology. As if only your grief matters because it created Fort Salem. As if it didn't just bind witches as slaves to the government for centuries to come. Enough! Sarah grips the wheel tighter. A snarky response on the tip of her tongue never comes because Tally takes the floor again. You both have done some shitty things. But what neither of you seek to comprehend is that no sin is greater than the other. It's all bad. You're human, and you've both lost sight of that, whether you want to admit it or not. Oh, look, something else you have in common. The royal purple of Nicta's cord stretches a bit further towards the navy blue of Sarah's. Sarah's cord hesitantly reaches back. Tally smiles. I would like to continue seeing Sarah. Nicta isn't surprised. But I would also like to see where things go with Nicta as well. Scratch that. Nicta is shocked as hell. Sarah, I've learned so much from Nicta in the past few months. Valuable experience, not only in combat but in life. Nicta isn't evil incarnate, and she's not only the product of her trauma. Trauma lets we forget that you caused her. It's the truth. Tally and Nicta have slowly been spending more time together on the base. What can she say? She has a thing for brooding witches with a goddess complex and a chip on their shoulder. What started as a simple lesson on how to glamour oneself to look like someone else with the help of Nicta's lighter somehow turned into Tally purposefully seeking Nicta out on base. And whether they cross path with a few words or banter or a genuine serious dialogue about the future, Tally has come to know Nicta is far more than the sum of the spree. She's insightful and witty and thinks outside of the box when necessary. Nicta feels vindicated. Sarah feels scolded. And Nicta, Sarah has made countless tough decisions that we may never understand. But does that make her a bad person? Alder quite literally has the weight of the world on her shoulders. Has for over 3 centuries now. If Tally can only get her to see that she doesn't have to bear it on her own any longer. Trust issues is what it boils down to when Tally really thinks about it, and she has, often. Sarah doesn't allow herself to trust anyone enough to help. Well, until now. Tally has sensed a shift in Sarah's abilities to relinquish a minuscule amount of control when she wants to. And okay, sure, it's usually in bed, but that's a start, right? Nicta grumbles something from the back seat that Tally can't quite hear. She's impressed, though. Hard to believe this is the same girl that Nicta had once knocked unconscious and taken the place of. The same girl prances around base as if skipping is her only mode of transportation. Tally continues, not waiting for a response. I would like it if we could come to some sort of agreement or understanding, because I'm not giving either of you up. Sarah crosses through the wards, and as they enter Fort Salem, she stopped briefly by the guards at the front. Fine, Sarah says, but only because I love you. Tally turns to her in surprise. You do? That's what I was going to tell you before we were so rudely interrupted. Sarah's eyes meet Nicta's in the rearview mirror, but they're twinkling with something other than hatred. Nicta shrugs his shoulder noncommittally. Fine, whatever. I was getting bored with hating you guts for so long anyway. Goddess forbid you get too bored, Sarah jokes. Tally doesn't have to look up to see that blue and purple have met in the middle, wrapped around each other, and they're curling out to meet the marigold of Tally's cord. Well, the redhead grins, now this is going to be interesting. Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own, and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.